What a way to start the bank holiday weekend. Welcome back to the podcast and to the latest of our match reports, fresh off the back of a brilliant away win for Chelsea, 5-1 against West Ham, coming from behind, and a convincing win. Scorers all over the pitch, 5 different goal scorers, some very, very good performances across the board. But let's get into it. Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And of course, this is one of 2 match reports dropping this weekend. I am also going to be putting together a match report for the under-21s who enjoyed a equally thoroughly convincing win against Newcastle under-21s last night. 5-0 for them, 5-1 for Chelsea, 10 goals scored. Let's get into it. And what better place to start than Estevao Willian? What a player, what a guy, what a footballer this kid is. At 18 years and 120 days old, Estevao became the 3rd youngest South American to start a Premier League match and the youngest player to register an assist for Chelsea in the competition. There are still people doubting him, but those are doing so through gritted teeth. This is a kid that shows enormous promise, incredible talent already at such a young age, and he is only going to improve, only going to get better. And at the start of the game, obviously the big news was that Palmer dropped out of the warm-up. Everyone was a little bit shaky. I had a bad gut feeling before the game last night. I thought West Ham, Friday night, Graham Potter, it stinks of a 1-0 West Ham. And we went behind fairly early. We looked lacklustre at the start. It may have been a convincing win, all said and done. You know, after 90 minutes, we can look back at it and say that we didn't have very much to worry about. But in that first half, it was incredibly loose. It was incredibly chaotic. It was a game that I thought Andre Santos might start alongside Moises Caicedo and maybe also Enzo Fernandez to give us a little bit more control in the centre mid, because last week against Palace, it was very condensed. We struggled to kind of break down the middle of the pitch and we didn't really utilise the wings enough. But that was completely different last night. You know, Moises Caicedo, Enzo Fernandez stepped up from the Palace game where I thought he was fairly poor by his standards. But Moises Caicedo is undoubtedly the greatest centre midfielder in the world. I don't care if it's attacking. I don't care if it's defensive. There is no centre midfielder that can do what Moises Caicedo does. Nobody comes close. There are conversations every single week about Declan Rice, Alexis McAllister, Ryan Gravenberch. These guys couldn't lace Caicedo's boots. I am telling you, this guy, Makaleli already speaks incredibly highly of him. Mikel, everybody that Chelsea have had in the past that does this role speaks incredibly highly of Moises Caicedo. They see the talent, they see the potential that this kid has to be a world-class centre midfielder, to be the anchor of Chelsea's midfield, the anchor of Chelsea's team for the next 10 years and more. I don't doubt that one day he will get the transfer he deserves to Real Madrid, or to one of the bigger, a huge transfer is inevitably. There are no teams that are not going to be sniffing around Caicedo. If you have ambition to be the best squad in the world, you're going to be looking at recruiting Moises Caicedo. He is the #1 candidate in that centre of midfield across the world. So I have no doubt that teams are going to come in for him in the future. But right now, what we are building needs to be built around him. And we talk about Cole Palmer, Levi Colwill, Reece James, these players that have been influential, and we are essentially building around a spine of players rather than just building around one player. But if you were to pick one player in this Chelsea squad that you were to build an entire team around, it is Moises Caicedo every day of the week and twice on a Sunday. There is nothing that this guy cannot do. And I said last week, when he puts in a fantastic performance, we don't even really call it out anymore. We just say, same old Caicedo, same brilliant Caicedo. We've become that numb to these 8, 9, 10 out of 10 performances. But last night, while all of the plaudits will go to the attackers and to Joao, Pedro and to Estevao, and rightly so, because they do deserve the spotlight and they do deserve the headlines, Moises Caicedo deserves equally as many plaudits, equally as much praise, because this guy, this is a player that makes things tick. This is a guy, as I said, that you build around. Moises Caicedo is that guy in this squad. You could be forgiven for thinking it was Cole Palmer. Take Cole Palmer out of the team, no Palmer, no problem. Look at the plethora of attacking talent that we have. The ability that we have The dynamics with which we can change the game as well. You know, starting last night with two strikers, technically, with Liam Delap and Joao Pedro, even though Joao Pedro played a little bit deeper, which I thought was fantastic from him, showed another aspect to his game that I really, really like. Liam Delap didn't really get the headlines as well, didn't kind of grab much attention, but I thought what he did for the team was instrumental. I thought particularly the link-up play with Estevao Willian for Enzo's goal in the first half showed exactly why he is so important. It's not just the goals, the assists, you know, the goal contributions to get the headlines, to rack up the stats. It is what he does for the team that I am most impressed with. And similarly with Joao Pedro, I said there about him dropping a little bit deeper. I think the fact that he is able to do 2-3 rolls across the front line is fantastic. But it's not just that he is able to do them. He is a specialist in all of them. And I think he is a fantastic buy. I can't believe that I was questioning him when we bought it. I was 60 mil for Joao Pedro. Is he really the guy? With strikers like Osimhen, Gyökeres, Sesko, you know, all these big name, all these big money strikers being talked about, money being thrown around willy-nilly by Premier League clubs. I wasn't sure, and I'll be the first to say that I was not sure about Joao Pedro, but mark me stupid. I know nothing. I saw an interview with Cole Palmer this week saying we knew that Joao Pedro was good, but we had no idea how good. This guy in training, and Cole Palmer said, me and him link up. This is a player that is exceptional with the ball at his feet. Technical ability is brilliant, and yeah, I think he brings everybody together. That was one of the main things that I like. I was going to say liked. He's still alive. Nicholas Jackson. One of my favourite things about Nicholas Jackson was the sacrifice he made for the team. Not just, you know, being the number 9. He realised that sometimes he'd have to drop deep and tie it together and be the one to create chances and create space, make opportunities for other people. And that is exactly what Joao Pedro does. You know, his assist last night for Pedro Neto's goal, lovely little ball over. His goal, superb little flick from Cucurella, brilliant header to get up and be strong and to get that on target. I like everything about Joao Pedro. I think, you know, in the pecking order, he's definitely above Delap in terms of if one of them starts, it's Joao Pedro. But last night showed us that we can play, and not necessarily 4-4-2, but we can play two strikers and still maintain our shape, our identity. And I don't know whether that kind of shift in personnel had a little bit of an effect on us, you know, at the start of the game. Obviously, like I said, we were very, very sluggish and very chaotic early on. Absolutely no control up until Paquetá scored that goal. But I do wonder if that little tweak in formation, that little tweak in shape did have that effect. I'd be interested to see how we line up against other teams, whether we do play the 2 flat, whether it continues to be Joao Pedro dropping deeper. What happens when Palmer comes back into the fold and you want to try and fit Delap and Joao Pedro in? These are, however, good problems to have. You know, all of these questions I'm asking are very good hypotheticals to be asking or to be able to ask. You know, when you are thinking about Cole Palmer dropping out of the squad last minute, I said I had a bad gut feeling anyway. Palmer drops out last minute and I'm thinking, here we go. It is written in the stars. Nothing is going to go right for us today. But when you have a player like Estevao Willian that you can just bring in immediately, and when you look at the bench that we've got, you know, Enzo Fernandez doesn't have a great game. Bring on Andre Santos, box crasher. Pedro Neto or Estevao Willian aren't really getting at their man. Bring on Jamie Gittins for a little bit more speed, a little bit more flair, a little bit more dynamism. We've become, as I've said in the past, in the last couple of episodes, an incredibly well-rounded, multifaceted team. We have so many different aspects and attributes to our game that I like. I think this squad as a whole, the togetherness that they showed to come back, we didn't even mention that. We were 1-0 down. And the fact that they came down from 1-0 to win 5-1, the game was virtually over by 55, 60 minutes. The turnaround was sensational. I thought the togetherness, the team spirit was unbelievable. And while yesterday, you know, I was getting messages during the day saying today's a must-win game. I can't believe I'm saying it. Second game into the season, we've got to win. I agree. If we hadn't have won last night, there would have been a conversation around, is this rust or is this, you know, it was pre-season really just pre-season? Was the Club World Cup really just a pre-season tournament? It would have diminished our achievements, I think, and our form and the way that we've been playing in the last few months. But you know what? I can't sing the players' praises highly enough at the moment. I think as a unit, as a team, last night was the blueprint. And, you know, rough first game. Just our luck that we had to play Palace while they had Eze and Gehi, because they probably never will have the two of those in the same team ever again. But we got through that with a clean sheet. We've gone to West Ham, a game that I thought had, you know, horrible loss written all over it. And we got our get back from Graham Potter. And, you know, prior to the Tottenham game, we're sitting pretty, 4 points out of 6. You know, haven't lost a game yet. We've got 2 more games that we need to win, must-win games. We need to get 10 points out of these first 12 before we go into that Man United, Brighton, Nottingham Forest, Liverpool. I think there's 4 games back-to-back, which are going to be big, difficult games. You look at the start of the season, I don't think anyone has an easy run-in, but Chelsea have had, you know, a fairly light start to the season with these first 4 games. When you compare it to other teams, you know, Arsenal played Man United first day, Spurs, Man City today, Liverpool, Newcastle on Monday. There's a lot of big games, a lot of opportunities to drop points early doors for these big teams. And Chelsea have a great opportunity to get out early, get out in front early, stamp your marker, stamp your claim. You get a little bit of confidence under your belt, and then you go into those bigger games, you know, full of confidence, full of momentum, in the upright, you know, in the ascendancy. This is exactly what I wanted to see from Chelsea in terms of a reaction from the first game, because we know from the 3-0 PSG that Chelsea can play, and this Chelsea team specifically can play some fantastic football against better opponents. And yes, I said it, PSG are still better than Chelsea, even though we beat them. Don't get it twisted. There are a lot of teams in this Premier League that I think are still better than Chelsea. But we've shown that on our day, we can do it against the best. And, you know, the main issue for me in recent years has been the banana skins, the games that we haven't won that we should have. And last night was undoubtedly a banana skin. And to say that we've got through it, having scored 5 goals and, you know, with a positive outlook on virtually every single player, all 10 outfield players, I can't sing their praises highly enough. I'm not going to get onto Robert Sanchez because I don't want no negativity in this video. The boys won 5-1 last night. The under-21s won 5-0 against Newcastle. And the under-18s have won 4-2 this morning. It is a very... Lads, we can enjoy our weekend. I quite like playing on a Friday night. We've got a whole bank holiday weekend, a whole 3-day weekend to go and enjoy now. But yeah, very few complaints from me from last night. I think excellent team performance. You know, let me know who your standout performers were, who your man of the match was. Obviously, Estevao Willian was given man of the match. Fantastic moment for him on his first start. You know, 34 minutes it took him to get his first assist in Chelsea colours. Joao Pedro, I think, rightfully gets the man of the match with a goal and 2 assists. But Moises Caicedo, I think, equally good shout. I think what he does goes under the radar so often that you could virtually put him as man of the match, you know, any game he plays. But 100 games in a Chelsea shirt for Moises Caicedo, captained the team to a convincing win. And now we're going to move on to the under-21. So make sure to like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I'll be back very soon with a match report from the under-21s 5-0 win over Newcastle. Until then, up the Chelsea.